Can I just say, I love Dr. Susan Simpkin. She is just a phenomenal woman doing great work in our area, and I feel so fortunate that we've been able to speak with her a second time.
Yeah. Like we talked about so many things, but we're talking about the holidays because it's December, and then talking about how we might be able to create some boundaries. And boundaries, and we talked about boundaries be good or are they just fearful boundaries?
Right, the right boundaries versus,
be able to check in with yourself and know what you need for this holiday season. Right?
Yeah, great discussion. So grateful to Susan.
The world is a lot right now. Are you feeling it? We all need new tools to help us walk through the chaos with grace, ease, and compassion for each other and for ourselves. In this podcast, you'll hear from parents, educators, and other experts who can bring perspective to the monumental job of parenting. It's time to level up and be warriors for our kids and our communities. This is the Warrior Parent Podcast. I'm Marci Mitchell.
And I'm Debbie DiManno. As parents, we understand that it really does take a village to raise our kids. We hope that this podcast serves to create and support that community for you. Join us as we discuss and practice our core tools, which are proven mind-body techniques that can be used by anyone to improve your life on a daily basis.
Welcome back to the Warrior Parent Podcast. I'm glad you're joining us today, where we are speaking to Dr. Susan Simpkin, who has been on the podcast before and who we are bringing back a little bit about Dr. Simpkin. Her family planted roots in El Dorado County when she was 8, and she attended local elementary schools and graduated from our local school, Ponderosa High School. She had her sights set on teaching, which took her to American River and Chico State colleges. After graduation, she submitted and landed a teaching job at Motherlode, which was her old alma mater. During her tenure, she obtained her master's degree at CSU Sacramento and received her credential that qualified her to become the district's first school counselor. Along the way, she received extensive training in diversity and safe schools. After 20 years of teaching and counseling, she decided to expand her expertise and entered a doctoral program at JFK University in the Bay Area. The school board worked with her to take a leave of absence and accrue hours to receive a license for clinical practice. And when the time came to retire from the district, she was set to begin this amazing therapy work that she's been doing now. And she has been in private practice as a psychotherapist since 2014. And we are so grateful that she is and has been and is doing this great work here in El Dorado County and in the greater Sacramento area. So welcome, Dr. Simpkin.
Thanks, Marci. Nice opportunity today. Today's topic is boundaries, and we can talk about how I accepted coming on the podcast again. Should I have exercised my boundary expertise and said, no, it's Christmas, I can't, or whatever. And I wouldn't mind talking about even that decision. And because I think I have a big context by which I think about boundaries and life and what the opportunities are and what excuses we use and that kind of stuff. So anyway, glad to be boundaries here and talk about this today.
Yeah. So should I call you Susan or Dr. Simpkin?
Which please. Nobody calls me Dr. Simpkin unless I need to impress somebody. So we're going to go with Susan today.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
never forgetting that you are a doctor.
Yeah. The audience is already impressed for sure. But you kind of blew my intro. So because I was going to share the story of how you hate. Should I use the term hate doing a podcast? But
it's better now.
Yeah. It's a little anxiety, maybe.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. Let's say that.
Yes, it is.
We're all here for expansion, right?
Yeah, well done, you. Well done, you, for pushing yourself.
Yeah. So tell us that story. You go ahead and share your thoughts around doing the podcast and boundaries.
Yeah, well, and I find it ironic because it is within my belief system about my life, and my life doesn't represent others. So when we talk today, just know I'm coming from my own experience. And I didn't do any reading for this podcast. I'm not big on a big presentation. Mostly it's just what I think and how I believe and what has been in my life regarding boundaries and how I think of them. And just in a nutshell, I think I can use, or we can use, oh, I've got boundaries about that. I'm not going to do that. And I think sometimes when we say that, it prohibits us from amazing opportunities for growth and for experiences and stuff. So I think it would have been difficult for me to say no to Marci, number one.
It's hard for me to say no to her too.
But it's also, I do believe life offers us opportunities, and how we engage or how we don't is like this personal thing. And I think one of the things I want to say that I want to keep coming back to today, it's being honest with ourselves. Do we use the idea of boundaries to protect ourselves in ways that maybe we don't need to, or maybe prohibit us from having an experience that would be, throws us off a little. It's not our wheelhouse, but that is a good opportunity. Right. And Marci has read my bio before, and I have this big slew of things in my life that I've done. And if I had said, oh no, my boundaries are to stay at home or to be a school teacher all the time, it would have prohibited so much of my opportunity. I don't know what other word to use, opportunity. So
well, absolutely.
I think people they overuse the term boundary, right? And they use it because they're afraid of something, right? They're fearful, and so it's like, oh no, I don't do that. And is that really coming from a place of fear, or is that truly a boundary? So like for me, where I see boundaries, I have had to get boundaries around my family because of its abusive nature. Now that's a true boundary, and that's something that I hold hard and fast because that's something I need to do for myself. But as you said, the expansion comes from not being afraid of something, right? And that should not be a boundary. But people are happy to call it a boundary when they're just like, oh no, I'm scared of that. Right. So I think
that idea of doing it afraid versus, we can be afraid, but courage is when we do it anyway. And the difference between that and protecting yourself from things that are harmful to you, that take from you, that those are important boundaries.
As I was thinking a lot about this since I knew I was going to be talking, and it's not only fear. I think if we think about boundaries as protecting ourselves, and to me, insightfulness into ourselves is, well, what am I protecting myself from? And going back to agreeing to do the podcast, what do I want to protect myself from? And some things are really legitimate. During Christmas, I'm really busy right now. And I have things to do at home in my morning that are going to have to change. But then you look at it and you say, okay, we might want to call that a boundary. Or do we want to say, I want to protect myself and I don't have to, or I can shift enough, or it doesn't have to be rigid. I guess that's what I want to say.
Yeah. And we're grateful because you have a wealth of information and experience to share. And we know that from having you on the podcast before, but also I know from having personal experience with you. And so it's a service when you say yes and you share these things, that there are people out there who need to hear. And so that's important too.
Well, and I think that brings in this other idea about our boundaries or our, how we live our lives, what takes precedent. And to me, my values and my contribution is really high on my priority list. And if fear it determines those things for me, or whatever determines those things, I want to look at it and say, well, is my fear more important than my contribution or my belief in contribution? So
that right there, right there.
We have been talking, I think every conversation that we've had, maybe over the last year, comes back to values, and belief systems. And we're well, I don't know what, I really don't want to go down the politic situation, but I think it, for Marcy and I, it's been it's been good for us to reflect back to what our values are.
Yes.
When we feel like, we do this out of the goodness of our heart. We're not doing this because we're like trying to be rich or famous, right? We're doing this
Yes.
because we feel like this is important for people to understand, and everything goes back to the values, and the
Yes.
people have lost their values. They didn't know what they were in the first place. They never heard of
Yes.
the term. Like, we're feeling this is the root cause of so much of what's going on the planet right now,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it really matters. It's so important, and you'll hear
Yeah.
it over and over on it.
Yeah.
If you are not clear what your values are, if you're not dedicated to them, if you're not willing to take that moment like Susan did and say, wait a minute, what matters here? If my value is sharing this information, but I'm afraid, oh, that's okay. Let me look at it. Let me be uncomfortable with it and make
Exactly.
me make a choice based on my values. And so that
I
I can,
love that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really important. And when you start doing it, then you're going to feel that you're going to be like, oh, look, I did that. I
Yes.
feel proud of myself. It was
Yes.
scary. It was uncomfortable. And here I am. I did
Yeah.
what I wanted to do and I showed up the way I wanted to show up.
Yeah.
And that's what the
Yes.
world needs.
And by
Exactly.
the way, how impossible is it for you to create a boundary if you don't know what your values are? If you're
That's right.
if you're not clear about the foundation of who you are, how in the world would you create a boundary around that?
Yes.
That's
That's right.
appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yes. And we can talk about, well, what boundaries make sense for people, because the first part of this discussion is, well, we need to get past it. But I also believe, like you said, Debbie, based on our beliefs and our own self-worth could be one of those beliefs. When do we say I'm not I'm going to say no, or I'm going to protect something? What I came up with is boundaries are about protecting something, and I'm
Mm,
protecting something that's important enough for me to go out on a limb and protect.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Feels
Wow.
like that's a little bit about what is needed on the world right now is for sometimes
Yeah.
for us to go out on a
Yeah.
limb to serve and sometimes to say,
That's right.
because we know
Yes.
there's exhaustion out there after this
Yes.
election, leading up to it, after years of this, there's exhaustion, and particularly in communities of color, in the LGBTQIA plus community, in immigrant communities, like, and in the community of women, the half of
Yes.
the population, there's exhaustion over fighting for what should be fundamental rights, over trying to convince people that we matter, that we have a right. And so you do have to have some boundaries and protect yourself and give yourself rest and give yourself self-care.
Yes.
Mhm.
And where you started, that Christmas season, this holiday season, this December, beginning of January, is so much stuff. So talk more about that, about the boundaries around people, around this political climate, but also just for everyone in December, how you can turn it from something that exhausts you into something that maybe is uplifting and joyful, like it should be.
Okay, so for the other thing that I've been thinking a lot about is and that I think about life in this way. It's complicated. It's not I have boundaries or I don't. It's there are many nuances to living a life where you feel like you're supporting yourself, you're doing what is inconsistent with what you believe, both in accepting things and being cautious about things. So it's not, for first of all, it's not simple. Secondly,
Right.
I think that and I haven't done any reading about this, but I believe that there's a lot of hubbub about, oh, when the family gets together, they're going to argue about who's blue and who's red and who got elected. I don't know that I believe that, but I
Mhm.
do believe that families get together knowing how their family members or or good friends that are coming to the gathering have voted. Let's say have voted, because I want to just lay it out there. Have voted
Sure.
because I
Yeah.
work with transgender people, and it's not just I believe in healthcare this way or that way. It's personal to them.
Yes.
And when
Yeah.
somebody votes a certain way, let's say, let's tell the truth here. If somebody
Yes.
votes a MAGA, what they're saying is, I am on board with the belief that trans people shouldn't have health care they need. They shouldn't, and basically they just shouldn't exist. And if anybody doesn't think that, I think they're wrong. That's what MAGA kind of stands for. Now, individual MAGA people are going to say, "Oh, well, I don't believe that." But when you vote like that, it tells your family that you're on board with that agenda.
Yeah.
So, and I wanted to talk about a trans feminine woman that I work with, young woman. She's not even 20. And her family's way behind her and supportive of her. And at Thanksgiving, her grandfather, grandmother, and uncle voted MAGA. And so what she decided was, I'm going to stay in my room, and I'm not going down there. And then let me lay out the story, because again, it's not simple. It's not simple.
Yeah.
And let me also say, it doesn't, you hope that your boundaries, maybe you hope that your boundaries are going to take care of the hurt that you feel and the distance that you feel. I'm not convinced that that happens. So she goes down to the family. She's up in her room. She goes down to the family to say hello. And her grandmother, who voted for Trump, hugs her. Doesn't hug her back. And then she goes back up into her room. And when she and I talked about this, what I was going for with her is, and I'm not trying to change anything about what she did or judge it, but there's a consequence. And this is how I thought about having boundaries, is it's not simple. There are consequences. So the consequences are that there were two family members in the gathering that she didn't get to see. And they all knew she was upset. And she went back up to her room and just stayed in her room. So the consequences are, she had to be in her room alone and not enjoy some great family get together that could have been. And that to the people that she really values and loves and feels connected to, that didn't happen for her. And then, okay, so there's that. And then what about the stand that she took? These people voted against me. I'm not going to be there, and they need to know. So I wanted to lay that out just as a kind of a basis for a conversation, because to me, it exemplified oftentimes what taking a stand or boundaries are. It's not just, oh, I'm going to relieve myself from this hurt. It's very much more complicated than that.
Hard. Yeah. It's hard. And I want to just say something, as a parent of a transgender person, people who are listening to this, and if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, they shouldn't have brought politics into Thanksgiving. She loves her grandma. That's family. That's politics. You separate them. You need to open your mind, or I would ask you to open your mind to consider that when you cast a vote that is a MAGA vote, like Susan just said, that basically is saying this person doesn't have any rights to exist as their genuine self, that the government should be able to tell them what surgeries they can and can't have, or what medication, or what bathroom they should use,
and what age.
And that is so personal. What could be more personal? But because it doesn't affect you, you're coming from this very privileged place where that's not something, no one's ever going to say that to you. Or you can't use that bathroom, or no, you can't take that pill. I disapprove of that pill. So it's very personal, and politics is personal when it's like this. And so if you voted that way, and you say, oh, but I don't believe that part. Well, you said when you went to pull the lever that doesn't matter to you. Like, maybe it's not what I believe, but I don't care that they are taking civil rights away from these people and dehumanizing them. You said that. Whether you consciously said it, again, comes back to your values. Think about it. Are you okay with that? And if you are, then of course there's going to be a consequence for you too. You have a grandchild or a brother or sister or a friend who's going to be like, I can't be with you because you just took a very strong stance against my life, my right to live. So I just encourage anyone who's throwing this off as they're so sensitive or whatever. think about it and think about what your values are and think about how you would feel if the world flipped and suddenly who you were as a human being was not acceptable to 80% of the world or 70% or 50. It's really not that much. Honestly, I
Yes.
don't believe that at all, but our system is a little fucked up. And so it's disproportionately affecting these people. So think about that, like really put yourself in that position. And that's just what I would encourage you to do, because it's real easy to say, oh, that's ridiculous, and not
Yes.
think about it. Hey, we just wanted to take a quick moment to tell you about something very exciting that Debbie and I and our team have been working on for literally years. And that is our Cour Tools app, which is now available at the Google Play Store and at the Apple Store. And you can sign up for it now, and you will get access to all the tools we've been talking about on the podcast.
And if you're an early adopter of Cour Tools, you can get a VIP price for $49 for a lifetime. That's
Lifetime.
right.
Buy it once and we'll keep updating it too.
Yes. So we're super excited about this. Go to Apple Store, go to Google Play, and purchase it now.
Cour Tools, COUR, capital TOOLS.
Go get it. I also want to say, generally speaking, is that I think you guys give a little too much credit for those people who voted. Like, half of them have no idea even what you guys are talking about. Let's just be straight up. They voted because it's a bully thing, or I think he's got power. I think most people don't even know what you guys are talking about. I'm going to be straight up there. So I think you give them a lot of credit. Now, granted, this is very personal for me, because I love you and I understand what your families go through in this situation, and you have educated me. But I also feel like, we're talking about families getting together and whatever. I can completely appreciate this transgender girl or boy, I'm not sure what you said, but from my own perspective as a woman, right? Because I felt like that affected me as a woman, and in my own home, and if I were in that situation, I probably would have done the same thing, right? Because that personal piece felt more important to me than maybe missing out on some other family members.
I love you saying that too, because it's a choice you're making.
Yes.
Yeah.
But people, I'm saying people don't have even the awareness. Like maybe her grandmother really, she voted that way, but maybe her perspective was not that of her trans child. It was probably something else she voted for. Abortion, right? Like, Marci, you talk about, your family members or your mom, like, this is a big thing for her. Maybe that's the only thing she votes on. She doesn't care about any of the other stuff, right? And so we don't know where those people are coming from or why they voted that way.
Right.
Right. But
that's my point.
It's hard not to take it personal.
It is, but it still is personal. So they
sure.
need to, that's my point, is that they need to be aware. They need to educate themselves to be aware of that, because it's real.
So, and I want to add to this too, because what you're saying to me is the way it looked in the story that I'm telling may be deeper than we know. Maybe it affected the grandmother. Maybe it educated people. And okay, so when we have boundaries, also, what is it on, how much of it on us is it for us to say, I need to stand up for myself. I need to communicate this. I need to try to educate. So I think sometimes that's appropriate and sometimes it's not. I used to think you always just talk to people about everything. If you have an issue, bring it to them. I don't think that anymore. I think sometimes, and I want to tell this other story about a boundary that I put in place one time. I had a superintendent that I was working for, and he had no boundaries. And it came to me, I got to do something, because I'm getting sucked into this vortex here, and it's not good for me, and it's not good for my relationship, and I got to do something. So what I ended up doing was had this pretend bubble around me whenever I would interface with him. And I would never go to him and say, listen, here's the deal. you need to quit doing this, and I'm going to quit doing this, and this is making me uncomfortable, or whatever it was. That was not what I was going to do. What I was going to do is quit how I participated, how I got sucked into it. And every time I was with him, I had this pretend bubble. I'm not going there. So the point I'm making is, what is the conversation that's appropriate sometimes? And when do we just say, I'm protecting things that are way important to me, and I don't need to have any conversation with somebody who isn't safe. Let's say that, who isn't safe.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think about, and because we're talking about the holidays right here, but was it last week we had Reverend or Dr. Raymond, and it was really enlightening, I think, for Marci and I both to go back to that place about what is the holiday for me. We've talked a lot about Kwanzaa and values and all that sort of thing, but what is it to me? What do I want for this? Maybe this just this year. What do I want for this holiday for me in this time? And that gets into the boundaries that we were talking about, right? Because if you don't value yourself enough to think about that, then what's the point of the holiday? Right? What are we celebrating, right? If you can't come through yourself. But we weren't all like raised that way, right? Like nobody told us to think about yourself first, right? Like, oh, how do you take care of everyone else on the planet, especially women? Right? Like that's just what we do. It's just we're all the sacrificial lambs, and like, what are we gonna do for everyone's holiday this year?
Right? All that emotional weight that we carry. And that especially our generation of, gratefully, I don't think the younger generations are taking it on as much, and I'm glad to see that.
Well, because, and does it have to be confrontational? It doesn't have to. If you're a woman and say, I'm done doing all this for some event, whatever it is, and you're implying it's how we do that. We carry the water. We carry the water. We carry the water. Anyway, I'm a believer that we don't, it doesn't have to be mean-spirited. It's just that we see we're carrying the water. We're resentful about it. We don't get anything out of it. We don't want to do it. Okay. What are our options?
And half, well, I don't know. I don't want to say half because I'm making a number up, but I know that many times people don't even notice if you stop doing it. So we do it to ourselves. I am a great example of that. I've done that to myself so many times. And I did it again this Thanksgiving, and way too much food, obsessed with potatoes. I brought this up before, but why do we need 7 kinds? And I ended up spending more time cooking than I wanted to. And, for me, then it manifested in my feet, my ankles hurting. But I had all these people in my house that I love, that I wanted to interact with. And I much would have preferred to like order pizza and just spend a day talking and laughing and playing games with these people. So, and I tell myself this every year. I told Deb, I'm going to make an after action report out and have it show up in my phone in October. Remember, don't do these things, because 58 years of doing them, they're pretty, and it's not 58. I didn't start doing Thanksgiving when I was born, but 40.
By the way, Marci's having a birthday. It's her birthday today.
Today. Well, not the date when this is airing. It's no longer my birthday, but 50. I am starting my 59th year, and I'm excited about showing up even better and better. The more I have these conversations with Deb, with you, Susan, with all the guests, the more I get excited about showing up better in the world. I love it.
It's a process for sure. It's a process for sure. And I love that. And I believe that. And I tell my clients that all the time. I'm still in. I'll be 71 at the end of this month. And it's like, okay, still in the game. Look at it.
Absolutely.
And I also wanted to say, to circle back to introspection, to me is everything. Marci, to me, why you have to say to yourself, why have I been doing that? And it's not a self-shaming thing, but I think we get things from our behaviors for lots of different reasons. But I think if we can know why we're doing it, and it's like you said, why am I doing it? What are my values? What's at the top of my priority list? Is it visiting with people or feeling good about what I have presented on the table? So,
Right.
and also the next question is it really that, is it that stark of a choice? Is it one or the other, or can it be
Right.
more of a blend?
Right. One
Yeah.
potato.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
I'm going to place one potato there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting curious. That is, boy, that is folks, if you're listening, that is a major skill to, instead of
Yes.
going to reaction, go to curiosity. When you're
Yes.
feeling stressed, when you're feeling scared, when you're feeling all the stuff, take a moment, breathe, and say, okay, what is happening right now?
Yes. Yep.
What am I feeling? Why am I feeling? What led to this? And boy,
Yes.
it's a life changer. And we love to
Yeah.
point out the life changers.
Susan, what are you doing for the holidays?
Oh, I am having it at our house.
Uh-huh.
And you can kind of see behind me, we have a really nice house. I love
Yeah.
my brothers. They live in town. One of them has a wife. I have a niece and a nephew. They come, and one of our good friends lost her husband this year, so we're inviting her to come. We always have Christmas morning over at their house, and now he's gone, and we'll go over to their house, do per our tradition.
Yes.
And let me just say too about introspection and potatoes. For me, what I kept trying to do in this house, we've been in this house 35 years, and we've had a lot of gatherings for my family. I've been hoping, and this again, this goes back to boundaries. I was hoping for years and years and years that I was going to feel a certain way around Christmas. And then Christmas happened with my family, and I didn't feel those things. And it's fun. People are interesting. It was year after year after year till I finally was curious and finally said, what the hell? What am I doing? What am I going for? And so finally, what I came to that allowed me to relax was, this may or may not be what I'm, that filling me. It may or may not be what fills me. It is what it is. And if I could live with my family coming, doing their thing, me looking and going, oh, there's my family doing their thing, instead of,
Yes.
they're not doing it my way. They're not doing it to take, to make me feel the thing, whatever, the family thing. So again, I think the curiosity thing's key. I think me having a bunch of boundaries around my family coming here and how it is, and what I need. It just, I think sometimes we use the word boundary and it really isn't about boundaries.
Yeah.
It's about something else.
And so isn't that so interesting? And this conversation keeps coming up for me right now, but it's around expectation, right? Like what is your expectation for the holiday? And so I've been talking to a bunch of family members. My daughter's got a girlfriend who's graduating from college, and it's like everyone's or no one is getting their expectation met. So I heard this analogy the other day, and I have to share it because every day I feel like I'm telling this same silly story, but it's about Home Depot. Marci, did I share the Home Depot story with you?
No, let's hear it.
So you have this expectation. Maybe this is your parents who you have this expectation. You're needing all these things. Susan, you're wanting these things from your family, right? So you go to Home Depot and you go there to get ice cream. Look at the look on your faces. You guys need to be watching this.
Story.
Yes. And so every year you go to Home Depot and you're looking for the ice cream, and there is no ice cream.
I love
right?
that story.
Yes. And so, oh my God, this story just keeps rolling off my tongue, but I have to share it in this moment, because I think for so many people, especially around the holiday, we have this expectation of, oh, we see all these things and everyone's just happy, and the snow and the thing. And everyone,
the cocktails and the special appetizers and the beautiful food and
yeah, but it's a false expectation of what's at Home Depot, and it's not the ice cream.
Yes.
Right. And probably no potatoes at Home Depot either. But right. So I think
love that. I love that. Don't go to Home Depot for ice cream. That hit home for me.
We can shift our expectation around the holidays too. And I think we'll all be better off.
I do too.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and again, go back to the curiosity. What am I seeking?
Yeah.
What am I
Yeah.
seeking? What do I need? And the need, I don't know about need, but what am I seeking? What do I think is gonna calm the turbulence inside me, or the yearning, not turbulence, but yearning inside?
Yeah.
What's going to fill me up?
Yes,
Yeah.
what's gonna fill me
Yeah.
up? Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus suck me dry.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. God,
Yeah.
that is, it all comes down to that, the curiosity, the awareness, because if you're curious, then you would know, oh no, there is no Home Depot or ice cream at Home Depot. So why would I
love
go
that.
there?
I'm gonna
Yes.
be using that story.
Me too. Yeah.
I know. I've told it 100 times, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It's right. It's right.
Yeah.
We are looking in the
Good.
wrong place, and we're looking for the wrong things too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What a
Wow.
great conversation.
Oh my God. Sue, okay. So we're going to ask you back.
I
'Cause
know.
This
Hopefully
is
it gets a
fun.
little easier each time.
This is
It
for you,
fun.
because
No,
you're
today
good
was
at this.
easier.
You're good at
But
this, and people
thank
need
you.
to hear this stuff. So
Thank you.
yeah.
And Marci, I want to sing you a song before we close, so let me know when that is.
Oh.
I would love that.
All right. And you're 58, did you say?
59 now. Now I'm
59.
59.
Okay.
Yes.
Are we ready? Are we ready for a song?
Let's do
Yeah,
it.
let's do it.
It makes me think of the good old days. Happy birthday to you. You sure grew out your baby ways. Happy birthday to you. It's your 59th birthday. We wish you many more. Health and wealth and friends by the score. So cut the cake and let's eat some more. Happy birthday to you. And that was without a warm-up.
That's awesome.
I love that. I
That's a
love
great
that.
song and beautiful voice. I
Thank you.
didn't know that was among your many talents.
Add that one to the list.
Yes, I am.
How about loves to sing?
Loves to
Yeah.
sing. Oh my
All
goodness.
right.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thank
Okay.
you, Susan. So good to have you
Yeah.
on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Happy
Full on
holidays.
gratitude.
Happy holidays
Yes.
to you, and happy holidays to everybody out there. Whatever holiday you celebrate, enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Yes.
Yep. Yes. You guys too.
All right.
And now for your core mental health break. This is your opportunity to take a moment to support your mental wellness, your peace of mind, your own ease and grace. Take some time every day to support your mental health. You deserve it, and it matters. Today we're going to do another affirmation, and today's affirmation is, I can do the things I desire to do. Repeat it with me. I can do the things I desire to do. I can do the things I desire to do. Thanks for listening to the Warrior Parent Podcast, which is a production of our nonprofit, Cour Experience, who also creates and distributes Cour tools. You can find us at courexperience.org. Make sure you join us next week for another informative conversation to help you and your family show up mindfully, purposefully, and joyfully with each other and in your community.
Our Cour Tools platform consists of a number of proven tools and techniques that are designed to reduce stress, anxiety, and overwhelm in spite of what's going on in your world. We want to thank Samuel Hale, LLC, for sponsoring this podcast. Technical and marketing support comes from Inspire Your Brand. Our podcast editor is Justin Beeden. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of the hosts, the producers, or the financial supporters. I'm Debbie DiManno.
And I'm Marci Mitchell. Thanks for listening. If you resonate with the idea of creating a community to help support kids and families, won't you join us by following the podcast and sharing this episode? You can even write a review. It truly does take a village, and we appreciate you.